The Velreth were hunters. They had conquered 31 worlds across the galaxy. Their ships were fast. Their weapons were powerful. Their soldiers were trained to kill without mercy. When they found a new world to take, they took it. No one stopped them. No one tried. Ambassador Krelvex stood before the Galactic Council with confidence in his eyes. His gray skin shimmered under the lights of the Great Chamber. Around him sat representatives from 47 different species. Some had scales. Some had fur. Some had no bodies at all and existed only as light. They all watched him speak. "The planet is called Earth," Krelvex said. His voice echoed through the chamber. "It sits in unclaimed space. The species there calls itself human. They have no space travel. They have no energy weapons. They fight among themselves constantly. They are divided into nearly 200 separate tribes they call nations. They pose no threat to anyone." He touched a button on his podium. A blue and green planet appeared in the air above him. It was beautiful in a simple way. Oceans covered most of its surface. White clouds swirled across its face. "We request permission to begin standard annexation," Krelvex continued. "The humans will be cataloged and integrated into our labor caste. Their world will provide resources for the Dominion. This is a routine matter." The council voted quickly. 14 species approved. 2 refused. The ancient Thesari ambassador, whose species had existed for over 1,000,000 years, simply watched with old, tired eyes. "You should study them more carefully," the Thesari said quietly. "They are persistent predators. Their ancestors hunted by chasing prey until it collapsed from exhaustion. They do not stop. They do not give up." Krelvex laughed. "They throw rocks at each other and call it war. They will surrender within days." The Thesari said nothing more. They had seen many species rise and fall. They had learned that some warnings were never heard until it was too late. 3 weeks later, the Velreth Expeditionary Fleet arrived at Earth. Commander Vethkro stood on the bridge of his flagship. The crushing dawn. 46 other cruisers surrounded him in perfect formation. Each ship was half a kilometer long. Each carried enough firepower to destroy a continent. He looked at the blue planet below and felt nothing but boredom. "Open communications," he ordered. "Broadcast our terms." His words were translated into every human language and sent to every device on the planet that could receive a signal. Television showed his face. Phones buzzed with his message. Radio stations went silent as his voice filled the air. "People of Earth, I am Commander Vethkrol of the Velreth Dominion. Your world now belongs to us. You will surrender all weapons. You will present your leaders for processing. You will accept your new place in our empire. Resistance is not advised. Compliance will be rewarded with survival. You have 12 hours. He ended the transmission and turned to his second in command. "Begin scanning for military installations. We will need to eliminate any resistance quickly." "Commander," his officer said, "we are receiving responses from the planet." "Already? They wish to negotiate?" "No, Commander. They are threats. Thousands of them. They are also sending strange images and what appears to be entertainment recordings about alien invasions." Vethkrol frowned. "They threaten us? With what?" "They say they will, and I quote, nuke us back to the Stone Age. They also say we should watch something called Independence Day to see what happens to alien invaders." A few officers laughed. Vethkrol did not. "They have nuclear weapons," he said slowly. "Primitive fusion and fission devices. Worthless against our shields. But interesting that they think to use them." He paused. "No matter. If they will not surrender, we will teach them the cost of defiance. Select 3 coastal population centers. Begin bombardment. Let them see what true power looks like." The order was given. The weapons fired in São Paulo, Brazil. 17-year-old Maya Santos was eating breakfast with her family when the sky turned white. She remembered her mother's hand reaching for her. She remembered heat. Then she remembered nothing but darkness and pain. When she woke, her family was gone. Her home was gone. Her city was gone. A crater 2 kilometers wide had replaced everything she had ever known. In Mumbai, India, 9 million people died in an instant. The ancient city simply ceased to exist. Ships in the harbor were vaporized. Temples that had stood for 1,000 years became dust in Los Angeles. United States, the Hollywood sign melted like candle wax. The Pacific Ocean rushed in to fill the void where the city had been. Steam rose so high it could be seen from space. 17 million humans died in the first 24 hours. The Earth expected surrender after this display. They expected weeping. They expected begging. They had seen it many times before on many worlds. That was not what they received. Instead, something strange happened. Something the Velrath had never seen before. The humans stopped fighting each other. Every war on Earth ended in an hour. Every dispute was forgotten. Every grudge was set aside. Nations that had hated each other for centuries suddenly shared everything they had. Military secrets were exchanged. Weapons were combined. Scientists who had competed their whole lives now worked together in underground bunkers. The United Nations Security Council dissolved itself and reformed as something new: the Terran Emergency Command. Its first order was simple. Every weapon on Earth was now pointed at the sky. Every factory would make weapons until there were no more materials left. Every human who could fight would fight. Every human who could not fight would support those who did. On television screens around the world, a single message appeared. It was translated into every language. It was simple enough for a child to understand. They killed our cities. They killed our families. They think we will surrender. They are wrong. We will make them pay for every life they took. We will make them remember Earth forever. We may die, but we will not die quietly. We will not die alone. If this is our end, then we will make it an end that echoes through the stars. In orbit, Commander Vethkral watched the human communications with growing confusion. They are not surrendering, his officer said. They are mobilizing. All of them. Every nation. Every military. They are combining their forces. For what purpose? They have no ships. They cannot reach us. Unknown, Commander. But our sensors show increased activity at all their rocket launch facilities. They are preparing something. Vethkral stared at the planet below. For the first time since arriving, he felt something other than boredom. He felt uncertain. Continue bombardment of military targets, he ordered. They will break eventually. They all do. But deep in his stomach, a small voice whispered that he was wrong. That this time was different. That these humans were not like any species the Vorath had faced before. He ignored that voice. He would later wish he had listened. Deep beneath the Swiss Alps, in a bunker built during a war that humans had fought against themselves 60 years ago, the greatest minds on Earth gathered around a metal table. The room was cold. The lights flickered sometimes when Velrath weapons hit somewhere far above. But the people in that room did not notice the cold or the lights. They were too focused on one question. How do you kill something you cannot reach? Dr. Yuki Tanaka was a small woman with tired eyes and messy hair. She had not slept in 4 days. Before the invasion, she had spent her life building rockets that carried satellites into space. Now she was building something very different. The aliens have shields, she said, pointing at a screen covered in numbers and diagrams. Our nuclear weapons cannot penetrate those shields. 1 missile, 2 missiles, even 100 missiles will do nothing. Their defense systems will stop them all. The generals around the table looked angry and frustrated. One of them, a Russian man named Volkov, slammed his fist down. Then what do you suggest? We sit and wait for death? Dr. Tanaka smiled. It was not a happy smile. It was the smile of someone who had found an answer that scared even her. Their shields are strong, she said, but their point defense systems have limits. They were designed to stop attacks from other advanced species. Precise attacks. Efficient attacks. They were not designed for what we are going to do. She pressed a button. A new image appeared on the screen. It showed Earth surrounded by thousands of small dots rising from every continent. We have 6,000 nuclear warheads on this planet. The Americans have the most. The Russians are second. China, France, Britain, Israel, India, Pakistan, North Korea. We have spent 70 years building weapons to destroy each other. Now we will point them all at the sky. A French general shook his head. 6,000 warheads against shields that can stop anything. It is suicide. Yes, Dr. Tanaka agreed. It probably is. But here is the thing about human nuclear doctrine. We never designed our weapons to be efficient. We designed them for overkill. We designed them so that even if 90% were stopped, the remaining 10% would still end civilization. We never asked if we could win nuclear war. We asked if we could make sure everyone loses. She let that sink in before continuing. The Velroth have 47 ships. Their point defense systems can probably stop a few hundred missiles at once. Maybe even 1,000. But can they stop 4,000? Can they stop wave after wave after wave, coming from every direction, with no pause, no mercy, no end? General Volkov leaned forward. His eyes had changed. The frustration was gone. Something else had replaced it. Something hungry. You want to overwhelm them with numbers. I want to drown them in fire, Dr. Tanaka said. I want to fill the sky with so much death that their computers cannot calculate fast enough. I want them to understand that they picked a fight with a species that would rather burn the universe down than surrender. The room was silent for a long moment. Then General Chun from China spoke. How long to retrofit our missiles for orbital delivery? They were designed to hit targets on Earth, not in space. 30 days if we work fast. We need to modify guidance systems, adjust fuel loads, coordinate targeting across every nation. We do not have 30 days. They are bombing us every hour. Dr. Tanaka nodded. Then we work faster. We share everything. No more secrets. No more national pride. American engineers work on Russian missiles. Chinese factories build parts for French warheads. We become one species with one purpose. And what about ground forces? Another general asked. They are landing troops. They are establishing bases. A British officer named Hayes stood up. He was missing his left arm. A Velroth weapon had taken it 3 days ago. He had refused to leave the planning sessions. Let them land, Hayes said. His voice was calm and cold. Let them think they are winning. Every soldier they put on the ground is a soldier we can kill. We may not have spaceships, but we know how to fight on our own soil. We have been fighting wars on this planet for 10,000 years. We know every trick. Every dirty tactic. Every way to make an invader bleed. Over the following days, something extraordinary happened. Factories that had made cars now made missiles. Universities that had studied physics now calculated orbital trajectories. Farmers left their fields to work in weapons plants. Teachers trained to be soldiers. Children carried messages through ruined cities because the Velroth did not think to watch children. The Velroth continued their bombardment. They destroyed military bases. They leveled government buildings. They killed millions more. But they could not destroy everything. Humans had built their civilization in layers, with backups and redundancies. Cut off one head and 2 more appeared. Destroy one factory and 3 more started working in hidden locations, and something else happened that the Velroth did not expect. the humans hid their preparations. Perfectly they had spent decades hiding weapons from each other. They had buried nuclear missiles in mountains, in deserts, under oceans. They had developed stealth technology to fool the most advanced sensors their enemies possessed. Now they used all those tricks against the Volrath. Missile silos that looked destroyed were actually decoys. Real weapons were moved through tunnels dug by workers who knew they might die at any moment. Launch facilities were disguised as rubble. The Volrath sensors saw a beaten planet waiting to surrender. They did not see the truth. On the 19th, day after the invasion began, Dr. Tanaka sent a message to every human leader on the planet. It contained only 4 words. Project Hammerfall is ready. Across Earth, in bunkers and basements and caves, soldiers and scientists received that message. Some cried. Some prayed. Some simply stared at the sky and waited. General Volkov stood in a command center deep under Moscow. The city above was half destroyed. He had lost his wife in the first bombardment. His sons were fighting on the ground against Volrath occupation forces. He had not heard from them in days. He looked at the button that would begin the launch sequence for Russia's portion of the attack. How many will we lose? He asked the officer beside him. Most of the missiles, probably. The first waves will be destroyed. But the later waves will get through. Math does not lie. They cannot stop all of them. And the aliens? How many will we kill? Unknown. But we will hurt them. We will hurt them badly. They will remember this day. Volkov nodded slowly. His hand hovered over the button. My grandfather fought the Nazis, he said quietly. He told me that Russians do not surrender. We do not know how. We would rather freeze to death in our own winter than bow to invaders. He paused. I think maybe this is true for all humans. We are all Russians today. He pressed the button dot around the world, in dozens of countries. Other fingers pressed other buttons. The sky began to fill with fire dot in orbit. Commander Vethkral was eating his evening meal when the alarm started screaming. Commander. Missile launches detected. From where? His officer's face went pale. Everywhere, Commander. They are launching from everywhere. We are counting. 400. 800. 1,000. Commander, they are still launching. The numbers are still climbing. Vethkral dropped his food and ran to the main screen. What he saw there made his blood freeze. The planet below was covered in bright dots. Thousands of them. Rising from every continent. Heading straight for his fleet. Impossible, he whispered. They cannot have this many weapons. Our intelligence said. Our intelligence was wrong, Commander. Tracking 3,000 missiles and climbing. Impact in 12 minutes. Vethkral stared at the screen. His mind could not accept what his eyes were showing him. No primitive species could do this. No one could be this desperate, this insane. But the missiles kept coming, and they did not stop. The first wave of 800 nuclear missiles hit the Volrath. Fleet like a wall of fire. Commander Vethkral watched from his bridge as point defense. Systems activated across all 47 ships. Lasers flashed. Energy shields hummed. Missiles exploded in bright flowers of light, one after another, filling space with radiation and debris. First wave neutralized, his weapons officer reported. His voice was shaking. 782 missiles destroyed. 18 penetrated outer defenses but exploded against shields. No damage to any vessel. Vethkral allowed himself a small breath of relief. You see? Their weapons cannot hurt us. This attack is the desperate act of a dying species. It will accomplish nothing. Then the second wave arrived, 1,200 missiles this time. They came from different angles, different altitudes, different speeds. Some were small and fast. Others were large and slow. Some released dozens of smaller warheads that spread across space like seeds from a dying flower. The point defense system screamed with activity. Targeting computers calculated and fired, over and over. But there were too many targets. The lasers could not move fast enough. The tracking systems could not keep up. Shields taking damage on the furious blade. Someone shouted. The Crimson Hunter is reporting overload warnings. Vethkrol gripped his command chair. Focus fire on the largest warheads. The small ones cannot penetrate our shields. But the humans had thought of that too. The small warheads were not meant to penetrate. They were meant to blind. They exploded in brilliant flashes that disrupted Velra sensors. They released clouds of metal fragments that confused targeting systems. They created chaos, and through that chaos, the third wave came. 1,500 missiles this time. And behind them, the fourth wave was already rising from Earth. The cruiser Eternal Victory was the first to die. Its shields had weakened from the constant assault. A single warhead found a gap, slipped through, and detonated against the hull. The explosion tore the ship in half. 2,000 Velrith soldiers died in an instant, their bodies scattered across the void. No, Vethkrol whispered. This cannot be happening. But it was happening. The humans had done something that no species in galactic history had ever attempted. They had launched everything they had, all at once, with no thought of tomorrow. They had bet their entire existence on one massive throw of the dice. And they were winning. By the time the fourth wave arrived, 7 more Velrith cruisers were gone. The survivors were trying to maneuver, to spread out, to escape the endless rain of nuclear fire. But space was not big enough. The missiles followed them, adjusted course, hunted them like wolves hunting deer. Commander, we have lost 14 ships. 23 more are reporting critical damage. We cannot sustain this. Vethkrol made a decision that no Velrith commander had made in 400 years. Order all ships to retreat. Jump to minimum safe distance. Now. The surviving Velrith vessels activated their faster-than-light drives and vanished from Earth orbit. They reappeared 2 light minutes away, battered and bleeding and broken. Behind them, Earth still burned with the fires of their bombardment. But the planet was not dead. The planet was fighting back. And it had just proven that it could bite. On the ground, the Velrith occupation forces had no idea what had happened in orbit. They only knew that communications with the fleet had stopped and that the bombardment support they relied on was no longer coming. Then the humans attacked. They came from everywhere. From ruined buildings and hidden tunnels and forests and mountains. They came with old weapons and new weapons and weapons they had invented in the past 3 weeks. They came with anger that burned hotter than nuclear fire. In southern France, a Velrith battalion was ambushed by farmers with hunting rifles and homemade explosives. The Velrith had energy shields and plasma weapons. The farmers had nothing but fury and desperation. The battle lasted 6 hours. When it ended, not a single Velrith soldier was left alive. 47 farmers died to make that happen. Their names were carved into stone the next day. In Nigeria, a Velrith forward base was destroyed by a schoolteacher named Oluwazin, who drove a truck filled with fertilizer bombs directly into their ammunition storage. He left behind a letter for his students. It said only, "Learn to fight. Never surrender. Remember my name." In Japan, an 80-year-old woman named Kimiko served tea to Velrith officers who had taken over her village. She smiled and bowed and acted like a perfect servant. The tea was poisoned with chemicals she had extracted from plants in her garden. 12 Velrith died that night. Kimiko was executed the next morning. She was still smiling when they killed her. These were not soldiers. They were ordinary people. Bakers and drivers and doctors and students. They had never held weapons before the invasion. Now they killed with a coldness that shocked even the Velrith. Commander. Vethkrol received reports from his ground forces with growing horror. They are not fighting like a conquered species, his general reported. They are fighting like they have nothing to lose. They sacrifice themselves to take single soldiers. Children spy on us and report to resistance fighters. Wounded humans continue fighting until their bodies give out. We kill one and two more appear. They do not surrender. They do not retreat. They simply keep coming. Then kill more of them, Vethkrol ordered. Break their will. Commander, we have killed 300 million of them. Their will is not breaking. It is getting stronger. On the 11th day after the orbital battle, the Volrath ground forces in Europe were surrounded. They had nowhere to go. The fleet could not extract them without entering range of Earth's remaining missiles. They fought until their ammunition ran out, and then they fought with hands and claws. In the end, 40,000 Velroth soldiers were captured alive. The humans did not torture them. They did not execute them. They simply locked them in camps and fed them and waited. This confused the Volrath more than anything else. Why do you not kill us? One captured officer asked his human guard. The guard was a woman named Sarah. She had lost her husband and both children in the bombardment of Chicago. Her eyes were empty when she answered, "Because we want your people to see you again someday. We want them to hear your stories. We want them to know what happens when you attack Earth. Dead soldiers tell no tales. Living prisoners spread fear." The officer did not understand. His species killed their enemies completely. They left no survivors to remember. But humans were different. Humans wanted to be remembered. They wanted their enemies to carry the memory of defeat like a wound that never healed dot in orbit. Commander Vethkrol made the hardest decision of his life. "Order full withdrawal," he said. His voice was barely a whisper. "All forces, ground and space. We are leaving this system." "Commander, the Dominion will not accept. The Dominion can fight these humans themselves if they want this planet so badly. I will not lose another soldier to these monsters." His final transmission to the Galactic Council was recorded and sent before he activated his jump drive. "This is Commander Vethkrol of the Vorath Expeditionary Fleet. I am ordering complete withdrawal from the Sol System. Earth remains unconquered. The humans have proven resistant to standard pacification. I recommend immediate reassessment of their threat classification. They are not a primitive species. They are something else. Something we do not have a word for. Something dangerous beyond measure." He paused, and when he spoke again, his voice cracked. "They threw nuclear fire at us until the sky itself was burning. They fought on the ground like wild animals. They sacrificed themselves just to take single soldiers. They are insane. All of them. Every single one. Do not make the mistake we made. Do not wake them up. Do not make them angry. Because once they are angry, they do not stop. They never stop." The Volrath fleet jumped away from Earth and did not return. Behind them, on a wounded but living planet, 8 billion humans looked up at the sky. They had won. They had survived. But they knew this was not the end. It was just the beginning. The Galactic Council Chamber had never been so quiet. 40-7 species sat in their seats and watched the holographic recordings play in the air above them. They saw Velroth cruisers explode. They saw nuclear missiles fill the sky like stars. They saw human soldiers charge into battle with nothing but primitive weapons and bottomless rage. When the recordings ended, no one spoke for a very long time. Ambassador Dasari was the first to break the silence. The ancient being moved slowly, their body showing every one of their thousands of years. But their eyes were sharp and bright. "I warned you," Dasari said. Their voice was soft but carried through the entire chamber. "I told you to study them carefully. I told you they were persistence predators. Did anyone listen? No. You saw a divided species with primitive technology and assumed they were weak." The Vorath representative tried to speak, but Dasari raised a hand. "They threw nuclear weapons at shielded ships. Not because they believed it would work, because they refused to die without making the enemy bleed. Do you understand what that means? They accepted extinction as the price of hurting us. What species does that? What species would rather burn than bow? This is madness, the Korvath ambassador said. The Korvath were logical beings, famous for their calculations and careful planning. No rational species behaves this way. Self-preservation is the first law of evolution. These humans violated it. Did they? The Sari asked. Or did they understand something we forgot long ago? That sometimes the only way to survive is to make your enemies fear you more than death itself. The humans did not win because they were stronger. They won because they were willing to pay any price for victory. The Velrith were not willing to pay that price. So the Velrith retreated. The chamber erupted in voices. Some called for immediate action against Earth. Others demanded quarantine. A few suggested negotiation. The noise grew louder and louder until High Counselor Vethrin activated the silence field. Enough, Vethrin said. The High Counselor was a member of the Solari, a species known for their calm judgment. But even Vethrin looked disturbed. We must decide what to do about the humans. Present your proposals. The Korvath ambassador stood first. We must eliminate them before they become a true threat. They have no ships, no interstellar capability. If we act now, we can destroy their planet before they can fight back. You mean genocide, the Sari said flatly. I mean survival. You saw those recordings. You heard the Velrith commander. These humans are dangerous. They are violent beyond reason. They will not forgive what we did. When they develop space travel, they will come for us. All of us. A murmur of agreement rippled through the chamber. Many species nodded. The fear was spreading. Then Ambassador Kelver of the Montari stood. The Montari were a peaceful species, famous for their healing arts and their hatred of violence. I have studied the human records, Kelver said. They have a history that spans 10,000 years. In that time, they have fought over 20,000 wars against each other. They invented weapons that could destroy their entire planet. They came within minutes of using those weapons many times. This supports my proposal, the Korvath said. They are inherently violent. They cannot be trusted. Let me finish, Kelver replied. In all that time, despite all those weapons and all those wars, they never destroyed themselves. They always stepped back from the edge. They always found a way to survive. They created art, music, and medicine alongside their weapons. They built hospitals next to military bases. They are not simply violent. They are complex. They are capable of both great destruction and great creation. What is your point? Vethrin asked. My point is that extermination would be the worst mistake we could make. If we attack them now, we prove that we are their enemies. We give them a reason to hate us forever. But if we approach them differently, if we show them that not all aliens are like the Velrith, perhaps we can find another path. Laughter echoed from several corners of the chamber. The idea of negotiating with humans seemed absurd to many, but the Sari did not laugh. The Montari may be correct, the Sari said. The humans have a concept they call, the enemy of my enemy is my friend. They form alliances easily, even with former opponents. Their history is full of nations that fought brutal wars and then became close partners within a single generation. They are capable of forgiveness if given a reason to forgive. Or they are capable of pretending to forgive while they prepare their revenge, the Korvath countered. That is also possible, the Sari admitted. But consider the alternative. We attack them. We fail to destroy them completely, because somehow, some of them will survive. They always survive. And then we have an enemy that will never stop hunting us. An enemy that will chase us across the galaxy for generations. An enemy that lives for revenge. The chamber fell silent again. Every species present had seen the recordings. They had seen humans fight to the last breath. They had seen old women poison soldiers and children spy on occupation forces. The idea of having such beings as eternal enemies was terrifying. The debate continued for 6 standard cycles. Arguments flew back and forth. Proposals were made and rejected. The council could not agree on anything. Then something happened that changed everything. High Counselor, a communications officer, announced, "We are receiving sensor reports from the Sol System monitoring stations." "What kind of reports?" "The humans have launched objects into deep space. Small probes moving in multiple directions. Our analysts believe they are attempting to map the surrounding star systems." The chamber went cold. "They are preparing for space travel," the Corvat said. "We are out of time. We must act now." "There is more," the officer continued. "The probes are armed. They appear to carry weapons of some kind. Primitive, but functional." The Zari made a sound that might have been a laugh. "Of course they are armed. These are humans. They do not go anywhere without weapons. They probably sleep with weapons under their beds." Vethran stared at the censored data. The probes were crude, ugly things. They looked like they had been built in a hurry from whatever materials were available. But they were moving outward from Earth, spreading into space like the first steps of a curious child, or the first scouts of an invading army. "We need more time to decide," Vethran said. "We cannot rush a decision this important." "We do not have more time," the Corvath replied. "Every day we wait, they grow stronger." "Then perhaps," the Sari said slowly, "we should not wait for them to come to us. Perhaps we should go to them first. Not with weapons, with words. Before they decide that we are all their enemies. You want to negotiate with them? After what the Velrith did? I want to give them a choice. Right now, they believe all aliens want to destroy them. What if we showed them that was not true? What if we offered them something the Velrith never did? Respect, equality, a place at this table. They will never trust us." "No," the Sari agreed. "They will not. Not for a long time. Maybe not for generations. But trust can be built. It is built slowly, through small actions repeated over many years. The question is, do we want to try building trust, or do we want to spend those same years fighting a war against the most persistent predators the galaxy has ever seen?" The chamber was silent. Vethran looked around at the assembled representatives. Fear was written on every face. But behind the fear, something else was growing. Something that looked like acceptance. "We will vote," Vethran announced. "All in favor of sending a diplomatic mission to Earth, please indicate." The voting lights began to flicker. One by one, they turned from red to green. Not all of them. Some species would never agree. But enough. Just barely enough that the motion passed. "It is decided," Vethran said. "We will send ambassadors to Earth. We will offer peace. And we will pray to whatever gods we believe in that the humans are willing to listen." In the corner of the chamber, Ambassador Thesari closed their ancient eyes and allowed themselves a moment of hope. It had been a very long time since they had felt hope. They only wished they knew if the humans could feel it too. 18 months after the Velrith retreat, the first human starship left Earth. The ship was called the UES Defiance. It was not beautiful. It looked like someone had taken pieces from a dozen different machines and welded them together with hope and anger. The hull was covered in patches. The engines made sounds that worried the engineers. The life support system had been tested only 3 times and it had failed once, but it worked. Chief Engineer Marcus Webb stood in the engine room and watched a faster-than-light drive spin up. He had spent 16 months building this machine from pieces of crashed Varath shuttles and human technology that was never meant to do what he was asking it to do. "What's holding it together?" Captain Elena Vasquez asked through the intercom. Marcus looked at the vibrating machinery. Sparks flew from a junction that probably should not be sparking. A warning light was blinking, but he had disconnected the alarm weeks ago because the sound was annoying. Duct tape, prayers, and spite, he answered honestly. Mostly spite. Good enough. Prepare for jump. The Defiance vanished from Earth orbit in a flash of light. It reappeared 12 hours later in a star system the humans had only seen through telescopes until now. The crew looked out the windows at alien stars and felt something that their species had dreamed of for thousands of years, thought they were not alone anymore. 3 days later, the Defiance arrived at the Galactic Council's capital station. They had not been invited. They had not asked permission. They have simply found the location and captured Velrith navigation computers and gone there. The station was massive. It orbited a gas giant so large that it made Jupiter look like a marble. Ships from dozens of species flew around it like insects around a hive. Lights sparkled across its surface like a city in space. Captain Vasquez opened communications on all frequencies. This is Captain Elena Vasquez of the United Earthship Defiance. We are representatives of the human species. We come in peace, but we are prepared for war. We want to talk. We also want answers. We strongly suggest you provide both. The station went silent. Every ship stopped moving. Every communication channel fell quiet. For a long moment, nothing happened. Then a single voice replied. It was High Counselor Vethron. Captain Vasquez. We have been expecting you. Please proceed to Docking Bay 7. A delegation will meet you there. The Defiance docked carefully. The airlock opened. Captain Vasquez stepped onto alien metal for the first time in human history. Waiting for her was a group of beings, unlike anything she had ever imagined. Some were tall and thin with too many arms. Some were short and covered in scales. Some floated in the air without any visible support. And in the front stood Vethron, whose calm eyes studied the humans with a mixture of fear and curiosity. Welcome to Council Station, Vethron said. You have come far. We came because we had to, Vasquez replied. You tried to take our world. You failed. Now we need to make sure it never happens again. The Velrith acted without proper authority. They have been censured. Censured? Vasquez's voice turned cold. They killed 300 million of our people. Censured is not enough. What would you have us do? Vasquez reached behind her and gently pulled forward a small figure. It was a girl, maybe 8 years old, with dark hair and darker eyes. Her name was Maya Santos. She was a survivor of Snow Paulo. This is Maya, Vasquez said. She lost her entire family in the bombardment. Her mother, her father, her brothers, her grandparents, everyone. She asked to come with us. She has a question for you. Vethron looked down at the child. Something shifted in their expression. The other aliens leaned back slightly, uncomfortable. Maya looked up at the High Counselor without fear. She had seen too much to be afraid of anything anymore. Why did you let them hurt us? She asked. Her voice was small but steady. We never did anything to you. We did not even know you existed. Why did you let them come to our home and kill our families? The silence that followed was painful. Vethron tried to speak several times, but could not find words. Other council members looked away. Finally, after what felt like forever, the High Counselor answered, because we did not believe you mattered. Maya stared at them for a long moment. Then she nodded slowly, as if that answer made perfect sense to her. We matter now, she said. Do not forget again. She stepped back behind Captain Vasquez. The captain's hand rested gently on her shoulder. The child speaks for all of us, Vasquez said. We did not ask for this war. We did not want it. But we fought it, and we won. Now we are here. And we are not going away. The negotiations took 3 weeks. The humans did not ask for much. They did not demand territory or tribute or slaves. They asked for things that surprised the council: equal representation, a seat at the table, the right to vote on matters that affected their region of space, technology sharing so that they could protect themselves, mutual defense agreements with species that wanted peace, and one final clause that made several council members very nervous. Any attack on Earth, Vasquez read from the treaty document, or any human colony by any council species or affiliate, will be considered an act of war against all of humanity. The response will not be proportional. The response will not be negotiated. The response will be total. "You are threatening us," the Corvath ambassador said. "No," Vasquez replied calmly. "We are making a promise. We learned something in the war with the Vareth. We learned that being peaceful does not protect you. We learned that the only thing that protects you is being too dangerous to attack. So yes, we are telling you what will happen if you try to hurt us again. We are telling you so that there are no misunderstandings, no confusion, no accidents, and if we refuse to sign this treaty." Vasquez smiled. It was not a warm smile. "Then we build more ships. We make more weapons. We explore every star system within 100 light years. And we wait. We are very good at waiting. We are very good at holding grudges. We have people who still hate each other over wars that happened 1,000 years ago. How long do you think we can stay angry at you?" The Corvath had no answer. Ambassador Dasari was the first to sign the treaty. Their ancient hand shook slightly as they pressed their mark to the document. "I warned them about you," Dasari said to Vasquez. "I told them you were persistence predators, that you never stop, never give up, never forgive. They did not listen. Will they listen now?" Dasari's face crinkled into something like a smile. "They will remember. For a very long time, they will remember what happened when they underestimated humanity." One by one, the other species signed. Some did it reluctantly. Some did it with fear in their eyes. But they all signed. When it was done, Captain Vasquez stood before the full Galactic Council. Maya stood beside her, along with the rest of the human delegation. They were small in number, but they filled the room with a presence that was impossible to ignore. 50 years ago, Vasquez said, we were alone. We thought we were the only intelligent life in the universe. Then you came and showed us we were wrong. You came with fire and death. You killed millions of us. You almost destroyed everything we had built over 10,000 years. She paused and looked around the chamber. But we survived. We always survive. That is what humans do. We get knocked down and we get back up. We lose battles and we keep fighting. We face extinction and we refuse to die. That is our gift and our curse. We do not know how to surrender. Now we are part of your galaxy. We do not want war. We want to build. We want to explore. We want to learn. We want to share what we have created, our art and music and stories, with species we have never met. We can be your partners. We can be your friends. Her voice hardened. But never forget what we can be if you force us to be. Never forget the fire that filled your sky. Never forget the soldiers who died on our soil. Never forget the children who lost everything and still had the courage to stand before you and ask why. She turned and walked toward the exit. Maya walked beside her, holding her hand out at the door. Vasquez stopped and looked back one final time. "Welcome to the galaxy," she said quietly. "Now it belongs to all of us." 50 years later, the galaxy had changed in ways no one had predicted. Human ships traveled to every corner of known space. Human art hung in alien museums. Human music played in stations orbiting distant stars. Human food, which was often toxic to other species, became a strange delicacy that brave beings tried to prove their courage. And in the Council's Hall of Remembrance, where monuments stood for every civilization lost to war or time, A new structure had been built. It was a simple black stone, polished to a mirror shine. On its surface were carved 17 million names in letters too small to read without magnification. Each name was a human who had died in the First Contact War. Below the names, written in every language of every species in the Council, was a single message. We were not ready. We came anyway. Never again. Ambassador Thesari visited that monument every year on the anniversary of the treaty signing. They would stand before the stone and read some of the names and remember a species that had refused to die. They changed us, Thesari said once to a young aide who asked why they kept coming. Not with weapons or threats, with stubbornness, with the simple refusal to accept defeat. They showed us that the galaxy was bigger than we thought, that there was room for more than just the old powers, that sometimes the smallest voices are the loudest.